So I've been trying to come to terms with a decision that Disney made about a week ago. Now, I say Disney, some people would say Lucasfilm, but at the end of the day, they are one and the same. And the decision that I am, of course, talking about is the choice to terminate their relationship with Colin Favreau ahead of the production of Star Wars Episode 9. And once again, very much like the events that led up to the departure of Chris Miller and Phil Lord from the Han Solo film, Disney said that they were parting ways with Colin Favreau because of creative differences. They wanted to go in one direction and he wanted to go in another with Episode 9. Well, it wasn't long after that rumors started to float around the World Wide Web as to who would replace Favreau as the director. And of course, two names immediately floated to the top of that list. Rian Johnson, who is currently finishing Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi, and J.J. Abrams, the man responsible for starting this new trilogy with The Force Awakens. Now, I cannot speak to The Last Jedi, obviously. I can't speak to what type of work Rian Johnson has done on it. But we all know what The Force Awakens was and what it was not. And I say this as a fan. So, I grew up at a very young age on the original Star Wars trilogy. A New Hope, The Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. And as a kid, I loved those movies. So fast forward to the late 90s, early 2000s, when Lucas decided that he was going to release the prequels. And I was super excited because we were getting more Star Wars. How couldn't I be excited? But the prequels turned out to be garbage. Phantom Menace was not very good. The only noteworthy thing about the Phantom Menace, in my opinion, was Ray Park's performance as Darth Maul. Attack of the Clones, or whatever the hell they called it, was once again crap. The only noteworthy thing about that movie was Yoda's final battle with Count Dooku at the end of the movie, because it was the first time as fans that we had actually been able to see Yoda get his Jedi on. But other than that, the movie was crap. And then Revenge of the Sith, which once again was not a great film. The only advantage to that film, in my opinion, was the final battle between Anakin and Obi-Wan. And on the subject of Obi-Wan, in my opinion, the only really redeeming thing that came out of the prequels was Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi. Because, in my opinion, Ewan McGregor did a fantastic job as Obi-Wan in all three films. But let's fast forward to now. Rian Johnson apparently said that he did not want the job of directing Star Wars Episode 9. And we once again got J.J. Abrams. Now, if you are following us on any of our social media feeds, then you will know that I personally am not a huge J.J. Abrams fan. And my dislike for this guy as a director stems back to the 2009 reboot of Star Trek. Because I don't think that that was a great movie. And I say that as a fan of the Star Trek trilogies. The entire 51 years of Star Trek I have enjoyed. Didn't matter what the series was, I watched it. Enterprise, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, The Next Generation, the original series, it didn't matter. But this reboot wasn't great. And the only thing that I ever took away from the original reboot of Star Trek in 2009 was JJ's god-awful lens flares. That's it. So fast forward to 2015 now. For the first time in 30 years almost, we're getting a Star Wars movie back in the theaters. I am going to get to find out what has happened since the end of Return of the Jedi with my favorite characters. Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, Princess Leia, Chewbacca, whoever, it didn't matter. I'm going to get some Star Wars. But as much as I enjoyed the experience of being able to take my children to see a Star Wars film in the theater, as a fan, I did not enjoy the fact that The Force Awakens was basically a giant mashup of A New Hope and The Empire Strikes Back. Now, maybe I am not being fair here with what I'm about to say next. Maybe me saying that I blame Abrams for this isn't fair because ultimately he directed the film, but someone had to write the script for it. But not being able to obviously comment on what the storyline is for The Last Jedi, and not being able to comment on what a job Rian Johnson may or may not have been doing directing The Last Jedi, the only thing I can say is that I hope that we as fans are actually going to get an original storyline now for the next two films, and that The Last Jedi, or the yet-to-be-titled Star Wars Episode 9, does not turn out to be a mashup of, dare I say, Return of the Jedi and Revenge of the Sith. But the mere fact that J.J. Abrams is once again going to finish off the trilogy by directing Episode 9 is leaving me with a very uncomfortable feeling in the pit of my stomach as a fan. So let me know as fans whether you agree with me or not. Are you happy to have J.J. Abrams back at the helm of another Star Wars movie? Or like me, are you cringing at the very thought of J.J. putting his hands on Star Wars again? And on that note, if you're so willing, maybe leave me a comment down below with who you think should have been chosen, or at the very least offered the job of directing Star Wars Episode 9. Have an amazing evening, everyone. Talk again soon. Ciao for now.